Whenever we cut to the kernel of the great and lasting philosophies, scriptures, and wisdom of the indigenous cultures throughout the world, we find that along with peace, love, and happiness, they express four universal goals or aims for all of humanity. And these four are achieving wealth, satisfying our desires, living a righteous and reputable life, and attaining spiritual enlightenment, heaven, or in Christian terms, the kingdom of God within. Yes, these four goals were taught in various ways by those great souls of all cultures and traditions who descended upon the earth from time to time and graced us with their parallel messages of truth, peace, love, sacrifice, and service, and active positive regard for nature and for all living beings. Now, as some of you may know, I've already posted a number of videos that are both clearly and practically related to this one. In fact, when you reflect on the central themes, you will readily see that nearly all of them are merely different expressions of how we might find meaning, purpose, and broad sustaining perspectives that lend and lead to more personal peace and contentment, as well as more self-awareness and self-satisfaction. I could name some of these videos, and I almost thought to do so. But then I thought, why bother? And so, if you've seen them, fine. If you've not seen them, also fine. If you go back and try to find them, fine again. And if you never see them, it is still quite fine. For isn't what we do and how we choose to spend our own good time our own good business? Well, be that as it is, let's now take a brief look at each of the four goals that I just mentioned, beginning with the achievement of wealth and satisfying our desires. Wealth, as we all know, takes many different forms. Commonly, it is defined in terms of assets, investments, financial resources, and net worth. These are, of course, very useful and to some extent, absolutely necessary to limit the struggles, the anxiety, and inaccessibility that one experiences around poverty and not having the wherewithal to comfortably provide for ourselves and our families. Yes, wealth can be tangible, and it typically is. And yet, when it is large and excessive, wealth should be shared and used for the good of those who suffer from an inability to make ends meet. It is said that wealth can be like manure. When you pile it up in one place, it stinks. But if you spread it around for the nourishment of plants, veggies, and fruit trees, it can stimulate growth and provide good veggies and fruits. It can stimulate growth, as I said, and provide good sustenance for you and for many others. But leaving that aside and going beyond the financial aspects, the real wealth we truly seek is intangible, and it is much larger, much higher, more encompassing, and longer lasting than anything our tangible wealth could ever provide. And that wealth includes the wealth of good physical and mental health, the wealth of confidence and faith in oneself, the wealth of a unified and loving family, the wealth of time to relax and enjoy music, art, and nature, and be with good-hearted and like-minded friends. And most important of all, the wealth of knowledge and understanding, which leads to wisdom and spiritual contentment. Now, when it comes to desires, so much can be said and discussed. In fact, suggesting ways to refine and limit our relentless and never-ending desires is central to what should be taught in families, and indeed in all religions and cultural traditions. So suffice it to say that desires are characteristic of human life itself, and a good part of every life is spent identifying and naming our wants and yearnings, what might float our boats, and finding ways to fulfill them. And yet, I trust you will agree that the desires we may wish to fulfill should have some human value behind them and be pursued without intentional harm to ourselves, to others, or needlessly exploiting or degrading Mother Nature. That is, our desires should complement and support our personal well-being and be of benefit to others. Their satisfaction shouldn't enslave us or go beyond our means. They shouldn't challenge or compromise our physical or mental health, disturb our peace or the peace of others, or delay our spiritual progress. And yet, how often has seeking to get what we want actually led to less satisfaction, short-lived and meaningless one-upmanship, or ended in putting us in deeper debt, stressing us out, or causing disturbance to ourselves, to others, or to the environment? There were a number of times in my own earlier life, and likely in yours too, when trying to fulfill my own ill-considered desires didn't come out so well and ended up with trouble knocking on my door and his cousin, I wish I hadn't, standing nearby. So we might consider asking ourselves, or asking ourselves again, yet more wisely and more reflectively, what do I want? And why do I want it? What do I really want? And what will this do for me? Will it enhance my sense of peace and help my spiritual progress? Will it help others and or provide some social benefit? For when we really think about it, and this is what I found out for myself, much of what we seek on the surface turns out to be something we hope will satisfy some deeper, more elusive longing, some temporary distraction or compensation for something we believe is missing in our lives. So yes, let's seek to satisfy what we need, what we want, and whatever may be lacking. Anything that is useful, meaningful, and necessary for a good life. But trying to satisfy too many desires that can be classified as cosmetic, superficial, or like cotton candy, which is nothing more than puffed up sugar, often leads to financial entrapment, more upgrades, useless warranties, greater password protection, and fear of losing what we think we've gained. So freeing ourselves from too many superfluous desires will reduce our entanglements, make us less dependent on abusive banks and greedy corporations, and result in less things we have to spend our precious time worrying about. Now, the goal of achieving a righteous life has already been previewed by suggesting that both wealth and desires should be pursued within the borders of ethics, morals, and the human values of truth, right action, peace, love, and nonviolence. Righteous, as defined by the do unto others, including myself, principle of life, by common sense, and by other generally accepted humanitarian and benevolent principles. And so, both our wealth and our desires should be pursued enthusiastically and achieved at higher levels, as long as our efforts remain within positive and thoughtful boundaries and do not diminish our essential human dignity or bring knowable harm to us or to anyone. The fourth and final goal of spiritual liberation, self-realization, or attaining to the kingdom of God, which, truth be told, already lies dormant within us, is a natural consequence of seeking and using wealth properly and pursuing our wants and desires, and indeed performing all actions along the lines of what is right, what is loving, and what is just. And so, for the purposes of this post, I need not say anything more about it. Now, before I bring this effort to a close, I'd like to share a wonderful teaching by Satya Sai Baba, which refers to what he called the 4 F's. This notably concise teaching will bring all I have said into greater clarity and sharper focus. So rather than wax on with more of my own words, I'll just quote him. There are 4 F's that you will have to fix before your attention. Number 1, follow the master. Number 2, face the devil. Number 3, fight to the end. And number 4, finish the game. Follow the master means we should observe righteousness. Face the devil means to strive to overcome the temptations that beset you when you try to earn wealth or the wherewithal to live in comfort. Fight to the end means to struggle ceaselessly and wage war against the 6 enemies of man that are led by lust or obsessive desire, and followed by anger, greed, attachment, pride, and jealousy. And finally, the 4th F is finish the game, meaning that we should not stop until the goal of spiritual liberation is reached. These 4 F's, he said, are fundamental for the successful and satisfying pursuit of the 4 goals of human life. And so, all I can say is what we all already know, and that is that human life is quite a trip, that it has one ultimate and attainable goal for us all. And I take a little time each day to wish us all less anguish and more peace, less self-doubt and more self-assurance, and less distress and more contentment. Until next time, be peaceful. Thanks for watching and listening.